Hi there, love bugs. What's going on? My name is Rabbit, and thank you so very much for joining me for episode number 43 of Let's Play through Final Fantasy 1 via the lens of Final Fantasy Origins on the PlayStation 1. In our previous episode, we wrapped up the second floor here in the Tower of Mirage, and we just got started on floor number 3. Nothing really too spectacular has been going down, so honestly, we're just throwing out some AoEs and trying to get through in one piece. That's really, oh gosh, I don't know. I think wyverns are worse than the worms, but who's really to say? They're all kind of terrible, aren't they? Let's try, I think I will go ahead and go with the muddle. We've got a lot actually to tap into right now, so we're not going to worry too much about it. Between Burl and then all of the backup AoEs via the items that we have, we should be sitting pretty. We kind of saw in our last two episodes that as we've been navigating the Tower of Mirage, the enemies have not had that much that they can really bring against us. We've had a few encounters that have been a little sus because, you know, if they end up turning one of your party members to stone, or if something kind of goes down that you're not really terribly prepared for, you know, it can end up being a bad time, and definitely not something we want to encounter, but so far, so good, so I cannot even pretend to complain too terribly much about what we've encountered as we've been making our way through this dungeon. I sort of elaborated in our last episode for you guys that in the past, when I've been going through the Tower of Mirage, it's been a bit of a mess, and I've often found myself struggling to get through this in one fell swoop, but this has been one of the easiest undertakings for me for some reason, but I guess it's really just going to come down to the fact that I made sure my levels are in a really good place, all of our people are topped off in terms of equipment and spells, and yes, Kajiro is losing his mind, so I want to acknowledge that right now, because I'm sure some people are going to be like, is that your dog, Rabbit? Yes, it is. Do you have anything to say about it? Because I can't do anything to make him stop. So he kind of is living his best life right now, which works for me, to be honest. But okay, let's go ahead and throw out the fire too. We'll also try, I guess, the Bolt 2 effect. Really, as long as no one gets turned to stone, then we should be okay as we're making our way through this floor. But anyway, on a more personal note, because honestly, there's not been anything that exciting that has transpired as we've entered the Tower of Mirage. I've just sort of been drolling on about personal matters with me, including just situations with folks in my life and the fact that I am now undertaking a couple voice acting opportunities and just pursuing that as a potential side gig or side hustle, if you want to call it such. And it's been pretty fruitful so far. Definitely some room to grow and some room to flesh out opportunities, but I am immensely and extraordinarily grateful to those who have reached out and extended a contract to me. It's just been such a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. But oh my gosh, this blue dragon, no! What do you think you're doing? This is hardly the time or the place for you to even show your face. But I will take it because I actually need to heal up my party a little bit. Melvin, kind of on the lower end of his HP cap. And honestly, so is Rohit. So let's get out the 2 heals. We did pick up in our last episode quite a few new weapons and sets of armor, so we're really in a good place to where our party is kind of self-sufficient. We don't need to really use that many of our queued spells at this point. We'll save it for that boss fight that's awaiting us. But anyway, warp to the Flying Fortress with the warp cube, says this robot. And you guys, you already know, we don't have any reason to delay. We don't have any reason to suspend the adventure further. Let's head to the Flying Fortress. And I'm going to shut up for a second because I really want you guys to just hear this music playing. This is one of my favorite tracks in the entire game. Just listen for a sec. Beautiful, right? I've got to give this game credit where credit is due. I think this game has an extraordinary soundtrack. It is just so fitting for the mood of whatever you're going through. Some of the areas aren't, I guess, the best in terms of matching the background song. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, I said this episodes ago. I don't like Matoya's theme, and we've had at least one, if not 2 or 3 dungeons where her theme has just kind of been playing in the background. I don't really like that. It's not my favorite song for sure. But outside of Matoya's theme, and woo doggy, that is 4,000 gil, which we will happily help ourselves to. But outside of Matoya's theme, I've got 0 complaints, and oh lord, I actually don't think I want to even mess around with any of this. Let's go ahead and dish out some deeps, get some heals off, and call it a day in this room. I'm not trying to play with any of these monsters, and honestly, we're not really having to. And there we go. There is a level for Burl with 39 HP. Always great. A little bit of strength, a little bit of intelligence, and a bit more endurance. But as I was saying, I just, I'm not feeling the energy of some of the enemies here. They're not causing us too much trouble, and there's really no reason for us to worry too terribly much about them or anything that they have in store for us. So let's get some heals out. Let us get healing helms because they will be the best for us. All right, team, let's do this. We're going to take those misses and return some kisses. And if you're asking, Rabbit, kisses? What kind of kisses are you referring to? Kisses of death, friends. We're not having any crap from these manticores. And I've told you guys, we're reaching the end rapidly of this journey together. So lots of good things are kind of waiting for us on the other side of this dungeon. I can hardly wait to be transparent with you guys. So we'll throw out the healing staff, and we've got the healing helm as well. We'll let Tyrone kind of chill. There's no reason for him to do anything outside of act as a secondary support, as we're just kind of meandering through the various hallways here. But since we've got a surplus of antidotes, let's slap one on Berlin. Oh my gosh, just listen to this song. I love this. I love it so much. I don't know why, but the Flying Fortress has some of the best music, I think, exists in the game. I think for me, what it kind of says is that you've reached the end, or you're reaching the end. Maybe this is kind of an unpopular opinion. I know everyone and their mama loves Chrono Trigger. I love Chrono Trigger. It's a great game. Played it through multiple times, actually, at this point in my life. I still like Chrono Cross, and I know, as a true sequel to Chrono Trigger, meh, it's not the best. I'm the first person to say, as a sequel to Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross drops the ball a little bit, right? It's not really a true sequel in the sense that it flows in terms of its vibe or its energy, the way the characters even interact with one another. It feels like a different game, but that has the feel or the energy of its predecessor. To me, it feels more like a spiritual successor than a true sequel, and I'm okay with that. I know a lot of people that have very strong opinions and feelings about Chrono Cross, where they think the game is absolute garbage and it should have been its own separate entity. And I respect and want to honor your opinions, friends, those of you who feel that way. I'm just throwing out there, regardless of how you feel about the game, that soundtrack was gangster. Like, come on. The Chrono Cross soundtrack was so good. I still listen to it when I'm just driving to go get groceries. The soundtrack to Chrono Cross is so incredible and just extraordinarily relaxing, and it evokes such passionate and strong emotions. I could be sitting and cleaning my kitchen, and I'll occasionally just stop and think, yes, the Dead Sea, all those souls that died on that expedition. Just there's so much, I think, spirituality and emotion to that game. Whether or not you think it actually fit as a follow-up to its predecessor, that's absolutely a valid debate, but as its own game, I think it had a lot to offer. Anyway, let's wait for a second and look at the 7,900 gil that we picked up, or I should say 7,900, and then 4,150 we've got, oh, you can't hold any more of this item, and 9,900, what could that possibly be? Maybe a potion? Let's just try it and see. That's the only thing I can think of. Okay, it was in fact a potion. I shared with you guys that I really don't want to be too capped out. I want to try to be opening all of the treasure chests that we're picking up. And dark flan, oh lord. I don't know how I feel about this. Let's just try. Let's just try the dark axe and see. I don't know what this is going to do. But we're going to give it the good old college try and just see. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? We'll throw out some AoEs, we'll get some heals off, we'll get some damage off. Let's just see what they do. I honestly don't remember too strongly what the enemies here in the Flying Fortress have against us. I feel like the Tower of Mirage had worse enemies for us to undertake, but I 100% acknowledge that I could be totally incorrect on that front. And it looks like Dia is not the way to go, so okay, lesson learned. We would have been better off by having Rohit and Burl just attack. Looks like fire. Fire gets the job done. Okay, well, let's try healing stuff, and then we'll do the fire 2 effect again. This should kill a couple more people, and then we can just continue on our merry way. So yes, anyway, music and just the general atmosphere, the environment, the mood, the vibe, whatever you want to call it, I think Chrono Cross just excels at that, you guys. I still have the OST to that game. I listen to it not every day, but fairly regularly, I would say. It's not like it's a soundtrack that I only listen to intermittently throughout the year, where it may be like once a month I might vibe to it. No, I have it playing, I'd say once a month, if not once every 2 to 3 weeks. I'll just play the Chrono Cross original soundtrack, because there are so many tracks in that game that even to this day just give me chills and goosebumps. And yeah, the story was a little all over the place. Characters, absolutely all over the place. If I was going to offer Chrono Cross one criticism, it's that they were doing the most by having so many recruits in that game. I feel like they did not take the time to really expound upon the personalities, the incentives, the backstories of a lot of the characters that you encounter. And there are a lot of games that really fall prey to this issue, where they want to give you a variety in terms of the cast that you can interact with, engage with, recruit, whatever, but then they don't make them meaningful engagements. They don't make them meaningful interactions. So you've just got like 50, 60, 70 people that you talk to, you can recruit, and they look great. Maybe they have unique skill sets, unique spells, but you don't really care about them. And for me personally, as someone that enjoys narrative-driven media, that enjoys JRPGs in particular for their story, it does leave a bit of a bitter aftertaste to spend so much time trying to recruit all these characters, and then you don't really care about their plight at all. So I get it. I'm saying all of this just to honor and validate those of you who feel this way. I agree. I think Chrono Trigger as a story is a better game, but I think Chrono Cross as a standalone has a lot of spirit and soul to it. And I think if people could separate Chrono Cross from Chrono Trigger and just appreciate it for what it is, you'll find that it has quite a lot to offer. And again, I'm in your camp. I think Chrono Trigger is amazing. It is a remarkable story with a remarkable cast of characters. But it doesn't really fully fill that void that was left behind from the conclusion of Chrono Trigger. I get it. I agree with you. I don't know. I guess for me, I've learned over my years of being a very big RPG fan and playing a whole lot of JRPGs that you can't always expect the sequels to kind of pick up the baton and keep things moving in the same direction. Sometimes games go in a totally different route, for better or for worse. Sometimes they try to follow along and they just fail miserably. Sometimes they try something incredibly new and fail miserably. But sometimes they follow along and it ends up being a good thing, or they try something new and it ends up being a good thing. I think we need to really, as a fan base, shy away from overly criticizing things just because it's different. Because, you know, I've seen so many people that then complain because they feel like a lot of games are very samey. Everything feels the same. There's no diversity in terms of story or characters. All characters fall into a trope. All stories fit like this 1 through 10 set of options. So people complain about that, but then they simultaneously complain when developers or storyboard teams try something new. And I feel like you need to give some of these creators a little bit of wiggle room to experiment and explore if you want to have something different. And I'm the first person to say, while I may not appreciate certain tropes, I recognize that they're highly identifiable by a lot of the audience that engages with that specific form of media. A lot of people like the hero, the underdog. Sometimes I think it's underused, right? The silent protagonist is a little tiresome for me. The damsel in distress for a lot of people is also very tiresome. I don't think either of these tropes, or even expanding beyond this and looking at other tropes, I don't think they're necessarily inherently harmful, but they can be taxing when you encounter these personality types and these character types over and over and over again. But my point is, if someone is constantly criticizing developers, storyboard artists, whatever, whenever they try something new, then you shouldn't expect for anything different than the tropes that you're also talking shit about. So I think we need to be a little bit more open-minded as a group of gamers, and we need to give developers a bit more wiggle room to explore more personality types, more story arcs, and just more situations for protagonists to navigate. Or else we end up with basically the same type of story constantly, but with a different cast of characters. But at the end of the day, are they even that different? I'll leave that for you to decide. But for now, we know for a fact that we got 180 gil. Nothing too special, 5,000 gil. I love this song. A protect ring, 6720 gil, and another healing helm. So many more heals for us to get. The only thing really new is that protect ring, right? Ring that guards against instant death. But honestly, hold on. We've got a protect ring on everyone already. So for those of you who maybe did not follow along with me completely, this is some selling fodder for you. It's something that you can go back and just pawn to get some extra cash. I don't think it matters. It's not going to make a big deal. But it's there for those of you that need the extra cash. I kind of expounded upon this in our last episode that because I did this very strange team that's highly dependent on money because I have to be able to build up the spell set and the skill set of my party, I was forced to do a lot of grinding. This is not usual. I think for some folks, you're going to find that your experience through this game is going to be much more straightforward, where you can just devote your focus and your time to going through the dungeons. Some areas do require a little bit of extra focus, a little bit of extra prep work, but not to the extent that I've had to commit to this Let's Play. So I just want to reiterate that again, maybe for those of you that are joining later on. I have 3 mages in my party and really only one overwhelmingly powerful physical attacker. Now, Rohit is not a pansy. He can get the job done. He gets the bag, but he gets the bag and cries a little bit about it. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely not Burl, but he's not a total weak ass either. So I would be interested in hearing what types of teams you guys kind of bring to the table, because I absolutely think, depending on whether you have more of the knights in your team or you totally just do something different, you're going to find yourself with an entirely different experience from me. Okay. Let's see. Let's just run down this way. I think we did everything that we could on that one floor. We'll hit that platform that we saw here in just a second. I want to maintain my heals. I know this seems a bit excessive, but I think why not? We've got multiple options for healing our party for free. We're going to want to make use of this because, again, guys, it's not a secret. We still have one more fiend, I should say. Let me actually enunciate properly. We still have one more fiend to undertake, as well as another boss, because I think we can all probably deduce just from the way the story's been laid out for us. The fiends aren't necessarily the final obstacle for our Heroes of Light to focus on and our Heroes of Light to undertake. There's definitely a little bit more to what's going on. But first, Tyrone gained a level with 4 HP. Okay, what are we going to do with that, Tyrone? Some agility, some intelligence, some endurance. I'm always happy to see these gains, so we'll grab them and try to hit up this room down here. And I know you guys, I have become so garbage in this Let's Play series about actually cutting out fights. After this one, repeats will go. But I was just really trying to describe to you guys that Chrono Cross, I love this game. Actually, there probably wasn't a point to me talking to you all about it, but I guess you know what? There is a point to it. Let me say this as a precursor. Here, as we're entering the late summer / early fall of 2021, I anticipate myself eventually playing Chrono Cross, and I already know there are going to be a lot of people that are not happy about me playing Chrono Cross because a lot of folks are going to want me to play Chrono Trigger first because quite a few people prefer Chrono Trigger to Chrono Cross and consider it the superior game. And I think that's fair. I would say, looking at the titles objectively, maybe I would consider Chrono Trigger to be overall a better game. But I think Chrono Cross has so much to offer, and I'm actually in that camp of people that was exceedingly disappointed that Chrono Break was never a thing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please take a second and look up Chrono Break. And that's break as in you're breaking someone's arm or breaking a Kit Kat, you know, whatever context you want. I think there was originally going to be a third game in that IP, and it just never came to fruition. And I'm still one of those people that's holding out for it because I think that IP is too magnificent and too, I don't know, it's just so evocative of emotions, and it really means so much to a certain group of gamers that I think it would be kind of nuts to not explore it at least in one more game. But anyway, let's open this chest and we find ourselves with a Venom Blade. So we'll take a look at the description for this, and it says Venom Blade, saber with poison effect. So it's another one of these weapons that comes with an AoE effect, which is not bad at all, so we're not going to be mad about it whatsoever. But is it the best thing for us to pick up? Maybe not. Is it the worst thing though? We're not going to sit here and pretend like we're too good for the Venom Blade. I mean, after all, let's just try it. Let's just see what it does. I mean, why not? It might end up being significantly better than we can ever imagine. But I think this is it for us. We'll see. I'm kind of, oh wow, that poison took out everybody. Okay, I feel a little bit bad for him. That's not what I intended to happen. But there's nothing else down here, so maybe we just need to take that platform that's above us? I'm not too sure. You know, in addition to playing through the games in the Chrono series, I'm having a hankering to play through more of the Final Fantasy games once we're done with this. Now, whether I immediately step into playing Final Fantasy 2 or I switch it up and do something random, like maybe I'll play through Final Fantasy 7 and then go back. I don't know. But one thing I do want to do is actually play through more IPs. I feel like I've been a bit touch and go regarding how I've been tackling some series. Like, I still want to play through the fan translation of Paladin's Quest 2. I loved Paladin's Quest. I think there was a lot of heart and soul, oh lord, that went into that game, and I don't want to leave it at that. I would like to see how the sequel was handled, I should say. And honestly, it's a little sad for that IP as well, that it feels like it just kind of died and never took off to the extent that I think the potential would have allowed it to. I guess it's all a matter of risk versus reward, and you've got to accept and recognize that game developers don't want to make unnecessary risks all the time. It does break my heart. See what I did there? Okay, let me get my shit together. It does, for real though, make me very disappointed that Chrono Break never became a thing. I'm hopeful that we will eventually see ourselves with a third game in that series, or just a third option, even if it's not a sequel, but it's just a continuation spiritually of that IP. I don't know, but the point of me saying all this is, friends, I'm really excited about 2022. Whether or not we wrap up this and Luffy and the Fortress of Doom with enough time to start something else at the end of 2021, 2022 is going to be incredible. I think we're going to all have a great time. I have a huge list of games that I intend to play for all of you. And I've got a few games that I think you guys are really wanting to see. I know that going through the Final Fantasy IP is a very big request. I don't know if I'm going to do it in any necessary order. I already kind of described that to you guys. After this, maybe I'll play Final Fantasy VI. Maybe I'll do Final Fantasy II. Maybe I'll be random and play Final Fantasy IX. Who knows? But I will continue to play through a couple more games in popular IPs that I know everyone kind of wants to see me tackle. Can I not go through this way? I guess we need to just take that platform to the top. So I'm getting into all these fights for truly absolutely nothing, but that's okay. Let's test out the Venom Blade a little bit more and I guess muddle, and I'll finish my thought. I know for a fact I'm going to explore the Final Fantasy IP. I am planning on exploring the Chrono IP, so that includes Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger. I want to play through some of the Suikoden games. I've had a few folks ask if I was ever going to undertake those, and I've just not done it yet, but that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in the games. It doesn't mean that I have no knowledge of the games. It's just been that I've had too many choices and not enough time. I've truthfully been spoiled for choice, friends, where there are so many fantastic games to play, so many that just wet my whistle, wet your whistles, but I'm a busy girl, so I've not had the opportunity to really set aside the time to devote to playing through all the games that I've wanted to in the amount of time that I've wanted to. So my goal for the next year or two, I want to play through a few Final Fantasy games. I want to tap into the Chrono IP. I do want to start sampling some things in the Suikoden series. I'm entertaining doing the Tomb Raider series. I know pearls are likely being clutched right now. I'm not the biggest fan of that genre. I'm just, I'm not really the adventure action person. I don't know. I'm a JRPG girl. I like my turn-based combat. I like my tactical combat. And then I like to call it a day. I'm not one that likes scary games. I don't like a lot of suspense. I don't like a lot of thriller. And the real-time shooting monsters up, it's a little anxiety-inducing for me, which sounds a bit crazy, but I'm pretty open and transparent with you guys that I think it's a bit traumatic for me to deal with too much violence. I like there to be a layer of fantasy or a layer of cartoonishness to it for me to really enjoy it without feeling personally impacted by it. But we'll put that on hold. Rohit got a level as well. We're just gaining levels left and right with 7 HP, some strength, some agility, some luck. And what is this? Melvin too. 7 HP, some strength, some endurance, and that's it. I feel like my team is struggling. These are horrible stat increases, you guys. Like, hardly what I've been waiting for. And these Earth Medusas, I think, came out of nowhere. But that's okay. We've got what they're looking for. We've got heals, we've got poison, and we've got physical DPS. I'm not sweating any of their bullcrap. But yes, so I've got a lot of IPs just kind of sitting at the tip of my fingers that I am planning to play for you guys. I'm very excited about 2022, just with being able to work from home, doing remote clinical work for substance abuse, or basically drug addiction, alcohol addiction. I'm hopeful that this will really allow me to better, oh Lord, where the heck are we? I guess this is where we're supposed to be. I don't know, but you know what? Let's go ahead and cut the episode here before we go too long. We're already knocking on 30 minutes, but the last thing I want to say is I'm very excited about what awaits us. I hope you guys are too. And again, I know I've already mentioned this a few times. I'm sure I will be posting about this in the community tab, because that is going to be another soft goal for me, to engage with you guys more via actual pseudo social media interactions because I just don't have it in me to really return to Facebook or Twitter, but I'm going to try to use my community tab more. I'm going to try to just engage more with you all, but do know that I have my sights set on actually tackling a few popular IPs, as well as continuing to present to you guys some more subdued and obscure IPs along the way. So I hope you guys are excited. But nevertheless, my name is Rabbit. This is my undertaking of Final Fantasy 1 via Final Fantasy Origins, and I greatly look forward to continuing the journey as we are exploring the, what is it called, the Flying Fortress, or I think it is called the Flying Fortress. We will continue exploring this when we come back together in episode number 44. But until then, take care, be good, and I'll see you guys there.